And even though, I haven't had experience as far as having to do that with when I served on that term as a commissioner, I would definitely make sure that there was open and honest deliberation, and then also make sure, be an advocate for discovering the truth and finding a fair resolution.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Deb. My question is next. What qualifications and experience do you have that would add to the Commission's deliberations? And I guess this is a more general picture than the more special case that Marv was talking about.
Well, I have experience leading meetings. That's something that I have, done frequently with my current job. I guess I'm someone who, when I go through and, my past experience as a commissioner, I go through and really look at, background check, and I provide, the citizen's point of view. I think is what I really bring is, as far as when I look at a background check, I think about, what kind of life did that person lead following, that point in their life that they decided that they wanted to become a police officer. And I also think about what would I want that the qualities of that person to have, if I experienced an event and it was the worst day of my life and needed that person to be in my home and assist me.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'm trying to reword my question because it just doesn't seem to read properly.
Okay.
I
But
think
I'll
it's supposed to say police where it says policy.
I think so. Yes.
create a.
Policing system.
Oh, okay. That would help a lot. We're just doing a little editing on your time.
That's okay.
So this still won't be quite right, but I'm sure you'll get the gist of it.
Okay.
One of the purposes of the Police Civil Service Commission is to create a policing system which shall be made attractive as a career. As a member of the Police Civil Service Commission, what would you do to help attract and retain talented police officers?
That's a good question. And I'm not sure how to answer that, just because I know that typically when the application process, I remember, there would be, 160 applicants. And so I know that there are, quite a few people who have finished school or, maybe looking to change jobs. And so I do know in general that there's typically quite a long list that take the exam. As far as retaining, I'm not sure, how that would fit in with the role of the commissioner as far as retaining employees, but, would certainly be open to, talking with the chief and learn, if there's, a place for, a commissioner to be able to perform those functions.
So you can probably teach me a little bit about the Police Civil Service Commission. There are opportunities for you to create policy for the police department in some areas? No?
No.
Okay.
No.
And so, let's see, are they kind of questions that are used in the selection process? Are those given to you, or is there things that you do?
Yep. What we've done in the past is we're given the list of interview questions. We review those together, make recommendations as far as changes or additions to questions. Definitely.
Okay. And then, so at least in the hiring process, then, you do some looking at those questions to select the ones you're going to use, and then what is the involvement in doing the kind of grading of the answers? How's that done? I mean,
that's something that the interviewer does. We haven't typically. What the commission is responsible for is determining the percent. So if with the written exam or with the interviews, the commission helps set, so much percent will be the written exam, so much will be the interview. So they mainly determine the weighting of that.
Okay. Yes?
She's been involved in this, but so she might not think of it right this minute, but they also review various tests from different testing organizations and help select the test that's going to be used based on past experience and the current law enforcement, shall we say, buzz, because the tests do have to change as the career changes, shall we say.
Sure. Right.
So
Okay.
she's been involved in that in the past as well.
Okay. Are there any other kind of follow-up thoughts or anything?
Do you have any questions for us?
When do you plan to make a decision?
Well, that's an interesting question.
Okay.
In that, I believe, in reality, we'll have made a decision by the end of the night,
Okay.
but we won't know what that is, and you won't know what that is until, the official announcement would be at our meeting December 13th.
Okay.
If you look online at our packet, you would know what it says in our packet about, a week or 5 days before that.
Okay.
And so, but the scoring system that we currently use is a force rating system, and so by the end of the night,
Sure.
we'll have the tallies.
Okay.
Although, like I say, we won't see them, we won't know what they are. So.
Sure. Okay.
So don't call and ask.
All right.
Any other question?
No, that's
Remember,
it.
she has experience in confidentiality.
Oh, yes, right.
Yes, I do.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you very much for coming in and spending the
thank you.
time.
I
Always
appreciate it.
Good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Deb.
Ready to talk to Lorraine?
In just a second.
Wave when you're ready.
Is Lorraine's seat open?
Yep. Her term is up.
Oh, okay. She's not on the ballot list.
So are we going to,
I think that we could do this where we don't necessarily kind of look to each other and whatnot. We talk a little bit, and everybody kind of talks, and when they're talking, they kind of in one way or the other ask their question. But
what, are we referring to the questions?
in the form of a discussion.
Right, but try and stay where we were? I'm just asking.
Say that again?
Try and stay where we were on the question sheet as far as?
Yeah, it'd be nice if
All
we
right.
could solicit kind of the same information.
Yes, that's what I was asking.
Without necessarily,
Thank you.
we'll just see how it goes.
That was your term up, or
My understanding is that her term is up.
what your name was listed on our sheet?
Well, that's because Lorraine wasn't all that certain she wanted to come in for an interview. She served for 40 years,
She's probably thinking why.
may not necessarily see why she needs to be interviewed.
Said
So-
she's been
so
on
she
the commission
agreed-
longer
she-
than some of us
she-
been alive.
She agreed to come in to just have a discussion about the planning commission. Okey dokey.
Okey dokey. We're supposed to wait.
Hi, Lorraine.
Council,
How are you doing this evening?
it's a little wet out.
Yeah, was it a crummy drive getting here?
Well, it's sort of not the best visibility, let's put it that way.
Yes.
Has it started freezing yet?
No, it's still very much water, and
It's
you
going
can
to wait
hear.
until about a half an hour before we have to go home.
It's a very loud rain, let's put it that way. And I think to a lot of the melting that's going on off the roofs and stuff is adding to the noise.
So, rumor has it you've been on the planning commission for 40 years?
Forever and 10 years. I don't know, my husband was saying he had idea, he was coming up with a figure. I never went back to look what it was because there was a period of time, I never applied for the commission. I got a call at 8:30 one morning that I was on. It was when they reworked the planning commission. I think it was a 9-member body at the time. They were down a couple, and they had quite a concentration in just 2 neighborhoods of the city. And considering how far the city was spread out, they decided to rewrite it. They went to an 11-member commission trying to get representation from the entire city, more than that. And they reworked the ordinance, and then they decided, well, while we're at it, let's appoint people. Some of the existing members were appointed, some new ones were there. And they had gotten 10 people appointed, and Pat Olson was on the committee at the council at that time, and she was the first woman on. And they had appointed 10 people, and she said, well, don't you think at least one of the 11 should be a woman? And so they said, okay, throw in a woman's name. And she went, threw in my name, and so that was how it went in. And I got the call at 8:30 in the morning. I was on.
Huh.
Like it or not.
And so,
Frequently, as my term came up, I was again the only female on the commission.
Yeah.
So that sort of was we have not been overly heavy with females on the commission over the period of
I would
time.
presume if you did it for almost 40 years, you must enjoy this.
I wouldn't go that far.
It's more like an addiction, actually.
I don't even know it's that. It's something that somebody has to do. And so if you have a lot of people who would like to do it, feel free to replace me.
well, and I don't know that that's the case, nor do I know that anybody's all that excited about replacing you.
No.
And so, but one of the things, of course, that the longevity that you have on the commission is, that institutional history. And I mean, I can certainly recall the years that I was there with you.
And we occasionally voted the same way.
Yes, right. Occasionally we did. But I mean, and I watch even today. I mean, the thing that you bring to the commission is, it's like, well, I can recall back when we first were doing this. I remember.
Or the reason why we did what looks
right
questionable today.
I mean, the fact that the city's density at one point was projected to be almost twice as much as what we're figuring is going to be today, and all those apartment areas that we had.
Some of the predictions on demographics that came out of the Metropolitan Council at that one point in time had, I think, 4 million by the year 2000. That was the Met Council's prediction. The state demographers was certainly not in that stretch at all. It's turned out the state prediction was closer to what it turned out to be.
Yeah.
I mean, I come from a long line of addiction to city service, gosh knows, but, and I think I understand when you say it's not quite an addiction, but somebody has to do it. But with that in mind, you certainly have a history, not only in the city, but this particular commission. So, and being one of the token females for quite some time probably gives you a different perspective than a lot of the other members in the past, present company included. So, what changes have you seen, or what, in actually the commission's function, the role, what have you seen it become that, and is that a positive in your mind, or do we need to keep changing in a certain direction, or?
As the first meeting at the Reform Commission way back when, as they went around the table, I guess the two things I had said is I felt we needed paths, walking accessibility besides just driving, and I thought that everybody was entitled to decent affordable housing, not just affordable, but that'd be decent affordable housing. And I think we have, not all suburbs were aiming in that direction then, and that was before the Met Council gave some of its guidelines, that you did do this as part of what you had along the line. And we have moved in that direction. And of course, for those who might not be familiar with it, the commission I was serving on at the time I ended up on the council, I was on the HRC.
Right.
Well, and I can recall, having these conversations still today, but it seems like maybe 10 years ago was more prevalent for some reason, but some real pride, I think, being felt by not just the planning commissioners, but the councils at that time and whatnot, that we do have a city that offers really that full slate